All right, Thursday night, time for a Las Vegas Triathlon Club member spotlight, and this is going to be fun. We have Navin Rongratana on here. Hey, Navin, how's it going?
Great. How are you guys?
Great. I can't believe we haven't had you. Bob, how have we missed Navin to get on a spotlight?
I know that that's the same thing I said here.
Yeah,
When I
yeah. This is going to be great. And
brought him on.
Nathan's been really big with the community in triathlon, and so it's a pleasure to have him on to talk about his triathlon journey and his journey and my journey. Pat, we did cross paths on St. George, and boy, was I struggling. But you were looking good, and I know that was a tough race for both of us. But that was really
Yeah.
neat to be able. I love being able to see people during an event, and it was really a pick me up to me to cross paths with you and even just share a few words. That's always fun. And I'm really interested to hear more about the success you had in the races. And last year, you were just killing it. So this is going to be a lot of fun. But before I get too far, which I'm guilty of doing, I am going to turn it over to
No,
Bob.
keep going, John. You're doing
Yeah.
fine. Doing fine. Just keep going.
Bob's got the official introduction.
All right, thank you, John, and welcome again, Nevin. And like John said, I can't believe we haven't had you on here. You, for the folks who are listening, Nevin has been a volunteer before he actually started doing triathlons, which is a great way to start, bringing his two really cool kids, Madison and Mason, to the events. And also, just so everyone knows, I think it's public knowledge, he's got another triathlete on the way. It's a boy who's coming into his wonderful family as well. Just to get started, there's a couple of things I wanted to start with, but you had your announcement whenever we announced that you were coming on. You had more people chiming in and liking this and giving you all than anybody else we've ever had. So what's
Yeah.
the story to your success? Who are these people? And
Well, yeah, a lot of them are just fellow triathletes that I kind of meet at races, right? So I like to just I was super introvert when I was younger, right? So during around the time where I start doing triathlon, I want to try to switch up my personality in my life where I'll read a couple of books where it's kind of telling you like to overcome your fear and like start talking to strangers, right? And you'll learn something, right? So that's what I kind of did. Like, in like at the races, I go to like Ironman Village. I'll go and make sure I buy a souvenir first. That's like first
right.
thing you do before you pick up your bibs or anything, right? Then I start talking to people, right? And then, I kind of like, ask about their stories and kind of share my Instagram because I like people, following me and, I follow them and so forth, right? So that's kind of how I start building people kind of following my journey. So,
We have all kind of messages and different people's stories, and this is new. I'm glad you brought this up. And triathlon is just an incredible way to to meet people. And I would have never thought that you were an introvert, because you will always come up and hi Bob,
yeah.
hi John, hi everybody. Can I volunteer? Can I help in any way?
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons one of the things we love about you is being a club member, is how active you are in the club and how much you just want to help all the time. Okay, for another question is you did from what I understand, your very first triathlon was a 70.3, and not only a 70.3 is one of the hardest courses in the world. You did St. George. So
Right.
kind of talk me through what got you into triathlon, and then why did you pick that course for your first one?
Well, couple years ago, right, I was like really, really overweight, right? Life, I did the whole thing that, everyone thinks is right? Go to work hard, go to school, study hard, graduate from college, get a job, work really, really hard, right? But then life gets comfortable, right? So I gained like a lot of weight. At one point, I think my max was like what 310.
No
So
way.
310 pounds. Yeah, I was 310 pounds. And then kind of just keep getting sick all the time and just not really happy of seeing myself in a mirror. It just not doesn't feel like I'm the hero of my story, right? So so that's when I start feeling like I need just to flip the switch, right? So that's I started like doing all kinds of workout. At first I did the CrossFit, but like I'm super competitive already, but being like 310 pound, doing CrossFit with like, 18-year-olds, it hurts. Right? I'm trying to compete with them. It hurts. So like, I would work out one day, get hurt, and sit out for like 2 weeks, right? And eat some more, and it doesn't help, and so I gain more weight. So then I started watching like YouTube and start seeing this Ironman video that they make, like the Ironman journey, right, for other folks. And I seen people that's like going through weight loss journey, or some amputee that's actually doing competition. I'm sitting on the couch, I'm like, there's no way I'm doing that, right? But eventually I just thought to myself, like, I have to start somewhere, right? Just go out, walk, or go out, jog, and get my Walmart bike, go ride, right? So that's when I kind of got started. So at first I got hooked up with Nancy, that coach Nancy.
Now, when was this, Navin?
This was around 2019, like mid 2019, right? At first I was like super scared of like just talking to Nancy, and like Nancy's super fit, right? But she was like giving me like, you could do it, giving me the motivation that you could do it. So that I believed that, like, okay, I could train and do it, right? So I was training with her for a couple months. It was great. Nancy's a great coach, right? But the thing is, I live really far north of Henderson, of Summerlin, but Nancy lived like pretty far in Henderson, right? So then she introduced me to Dax, right? And Dax lives pretty close by. So that's when I kind of just start hanging out, training with Dax from then. And the reason the 70.3 at St. George was, it was like, hey, I don't have to travel. I just have to drive to St. George. Well, how bad could it be, right? It's still the same distance, 70.3 here. It's the same as 70.3 everywhere. Oh, that's a terrible way to think about it at first.
There's a whole lot to unpack there.
Oh yeah.
One of them is the fact that I'm so glad so many people. There are people listening to your messages.
Yeah.
Injury. You can't be training when you get injured, and
yeah.
CrossFit is a recipe for injury, unless that really is. So you did the really smart thing.
Yeah.
And then you just started doing it from from scratch, doing anything to get started. That's cool.
I love this, Navin, in that, a lot of times we see each other today and we don't know the background story. And I've already learned two things about you. And one, that you are an introvert, and yet that's not how I know you. And because you're super genuine, super friendly.
Yeah.
And that's great. And then the weight loss, my goodness, that is a huge accomplishment. I love this, what you said, I have to start somewhere. So how much weight did you lose by the time you hold the start line at St. George?
Oh, I got down to 190.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, that's 120 pounds.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And what a testament to how hard you work at things, and just your commitment to that. So that must have just been really transformative, just to get to that start line at that point.
Yeah, it was so much fun. Just start getting into it, right? At first, like, you would think like, all right, you always have to do a like crazy hit workout to lose the weight, right? But then, when you're starting out, I started out with, like Nancy and Dax, they're just like, go walk and just look at your heart rate. And I'm like,
that's right.
Go walk. I mean, I need to like go to Subway and like be like that one guy and like, lose the weight, right? Like, go walk, right? But then if you I start trusting that process of like just watching your heart rate. That start giving me like, hey, go read some stuff from like, about Mark Allen training, like heart rate training. So and I'm like, man, a lot of people is like, kind of believe this hokum. Maybe it might work. So I kind of just shut off my brain there, stop challenging, right? And start following and, start seeing results. It was good.
Oh, I love it. Well, walk us through that first race, because you're going into the start line. You've lost well over 100 pounds, 130 pounds, or 20, 30 pounds, which is amazing. I mean, what's going through your mind as you're approaching that first event, standing there on the beach of Sand Hollow?
Oh, I was so scared. I
Yeah.
was, I was like, what am I doing? And I was thinking like, like everybody's around you is probably like, you know, you know, college athletes, or former college athletes, and they're just super badass. And I'm this super soccer dad driving Honda Odyssey around, have this wetsuit on. Like I try to pack everything as much as possible to like in trans one T2. Man, I hope I don't forget my shoes or something,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there. Yeah. And then when I started swimming, right, going into the swim, I was like, I wasn't shocked that the water was cold or anything.
Yeah.
And I'm just so trained on like already know what to do, right? Because like, my coach is already kind of just giving me like, you're gonna swim at this rate. Be careful, don't get punched and kicked, right? But it was funny because like I kind of lined myself up like way in the back
Mhm.
of the crowd, right? So everyone was kind of like doing crazy backstroke and like, all this pushing and kicking. So I'm like, oh man, this is not swimming, this is like kickboxing class. So
I love it. That is
yeah.
great. So as you're going into this which segment of the race were you most comfortable with? Like you're like, oh, I can't wait to get to and do that part.
After the swim, coming out of swim, I felt that was like the best part of my
Mm.
whole entire race. I felt like even though like a lot of fists and a lot of kicking, it was like I felt relaxed, right?
Yeah.
There's like mantra that I keep repeating to myself, and then I'm like, man, that went by fast coming out of the
Okay.
water, right?
Okay. Time
Then
out. What
yeah,
is this mantra and how did you stay relaxed? Because that's really hard for the fact that you did a first triathlon in the water, the 2,120 yards, and you were relaxed and weren't one of those people rolling over on your back and kicking other people. So what
oh,
was your mantra and how did you do that?
pretty much I just said, just think to myself, don't get mad, then don't die. That's how I'm repeating myself in my head. Don't get mad at other people and don't die.
Yeah.
Because like,
Oh,
there's constantly people pushing and so yeah. It wasn't like some crazy like awesome mantra or
no,
but
but
it's
no,
just
they
yeah,
aren't.
yeah,
But and you were able to stay relaxed the whole time
yeah,
because most
yep,
most people will. I mean, speaking from experience, 100
yeah,
yards out, roll over on your back, gasp for air
Mhm.
then you learn to go out slow.
yeah, yeah.
And
I
I
had
love.
I had a lot of interesting training too up to that race, right? Because like I'm always type of person that kind of gets scared of everything, like scared of everything, right? It's
Makes you
crazy, right?
more prepared. Makes
Yeah,
you prepare
so
better.
yeah, and having coach like Dex, right? And you just tell him like you're scared of something, he's gonna keep making you do more of that,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So I remember there's like one day where it's like super crazy windy, and he's like, "Oh, it's a perfect weather to go run." I'm like,
Hmm.
"You crazy? And there's nobody outside. You want me to go run?" And he's like, "Yeah, go do 13 miles." I'm like, "Okay." I went running. He came back and he's like, "Did you die?" I'm like, "No, I feel fine."
Yeah.
So you were prepared for sure.
Yeah,
I love it. And I love that mantra of just staying calm and really staying within
yeah,
yourself and with your race because that's your day. And why let other people have that negative influence? I love that approach.
right.
So that's fantastic. Okay, so you got out of the water and now you're really looking forward to the bike?
Not really. I saw,
No.
I saw, I saw that climb, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna try my best to finish before the bike cut off, and that's it. Man, that bike climb even though it was just a 56 mile, that was pretty gnarly. And up by the time I got to Snow Canyon, I was lucky, right? Because like I think I kind of saved a lot in the tank until I get
Mhm.
up to Snow Canyon. Then I was just like, when I was at Snow Canyon, I was thinking like, I'm not gonna be those person and unclip, come down, walk, or fall over on my bike, right? If I get tired, I'll fall over on my bike, right? So I just kept pushing, and I look at my wattage, I'm like, oh my God, I'm that's when my heart's probably gonna popped out pretty soon. But luckily it that 4 miles, it took me a little while, but I climbed all the way up. And I think at the top, the volunteer was having like Krispy Kreme donut. And I was like, this
Yeah.
is like the best time to stop. So
Did you stop and jump on a Krispy Kreme donut?
Oh yeah, I ate like three of those, so
No.
maybe it was like one per racer, but I was thinking like I deserve three, so I ate three.
Oh,
That's cool.
oh, I love it. I love it. So you get done with the bike and you're going down that hill and you pull into T2.
Yeah,
What,
yeah.
what were your legs telling you at that time?
Had they
Um,
recovered yet? On that downhill?
the downhill, I didn't pedal at all, right?
Right.
And it was actually a nice rest. I didn't feel any cramp. I was just taking a lot of salt already by that time, right? So by the time I got to T2 with my shoes on, I felt I was like ready to run, right? But I think probably first half a mile, I was just kind of like walk a little bit because I like from just the training, I kind of felt that like right after the bike, my body would kind of feel like I need to go fast to match my speed on the bike when I'm running. So I don't want to overdo it, right? So I kind of like just walk a little bit, then I start jogging and running. The run was crazy hilly too, right? I mean, you guys did it. But at that time, right, I was just looking at my watch. I have so much time left to actually finish the race. I could just walk, right? So I was thinking in my head, I was like, oh, I got this. I'm finishing this. It's
I
great.
love
You
So I'm
started
like,
to smile inside, weren't you?
yeah, I was actually jogging and kind of smiling at the same time, just happy, right? Then Dax, he was riding on the course and kind of he's like, we call him like salt fairy because he kind of passed salt to people that look like he's struggling. And he saw me that I'm already celebrating, and he's like, dude, quit celebrating, stop smiling, you're racing, run. I'm like, oh, okay. So
Not party time yet.
yeah.
Oh, I love it. That's so cool that that's such a success at that point. And so talk us through the finish line, running down and seeing the finish line and doing that red carpet. What was that like?
Oh, that was nice. I finished like late, a little bit in the afternoon. My family was there, and it was pretty cool to see my family and friends at the finish line. It got pretty hot too, St.
Yeah.
George,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine it was a little bit emotional too. I mean, that's your first triathlon,
Yeah.
and the huge success getting to the start line and losing the weight, and then just having a great day. That must have been just so cool crossing the finish line at that point.
Yeah, I can't believe I did the whole 70.3, right? And just that half marathon. I mean, when I was at 310, walking around the block hurts my feet. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I was actually able
Yeah.
to run like smiling and passing people. It was a great feeling.
Brand new feeling.
Yeah, but afterward though, like right after the race, I was like, it's some mixed emotional feeling. Oh wait, I train every day, but the race is done. What am I gonna do next? Right? I'm not sure. You guys feeling that race blue?
Yeah.
And it's always like, all right, I'm gonna do this one and done.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, that totally did not happen.
So you were actually thinking that was the only one you were going to do?
Yeah, I was just trying to like, cross and like a bucket list, just get done and don't need to do it again.
So then, how soon after you finished did you start? It sounds like you were starting to already think what's next. But how soon afterwards did you sign up for another event?
Oh, like the next morning.
And what was your next event that you signed up? Because I know you went from 70.3s to full Ironman really quick.
Yeah. So
I
I signed up for that inaugural Sacramento race right afterward, because like so the St. George was like around May, right? And then Sacramento was in October, so the end of that year.
You're talking the I Am California.
Yeah, the first one where we get rained out and it was canceled. Yeah. So I was like, all right, I finished half. I really want to finish the full. If I could finish the half, I could finish the full, right? Maybe not so much smiling when I'm running, so I don't get yelled too much by my coach. So I signed up, right? And I think on most of us in the Las Vegas Tri Club, we were all there.
Yep.
And I think we're a special kind of people, right? Because it was like blowing like crazy, and everybody still show up. I was like, there's people showing up and thinking that they're not gonna wear their Alpha Fly, they're just gonna run with a flip flop, right? Good
Yeah.
idea. I would
Yeah.
run my flip flop too, but then it got canceled. But just the sheer thought of like how we as a triathlete are such a problem solver
Yeah.
to just like fight the weather, it's
Yeah.
absolutely crazy, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
that
makes
was the bomb cyclone. So you were still ready to go. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. What
Yeah.
a mindset.
I got my wetsuit on. We're all like, make sure my bike is okay, ready to get on the bus. And so it was cold, and I was like, you know what? I'm drinking all this water. I'm saving it for the swim, if you know what I mean, right? So um and I was like, oh man, it's canceled now. Now I gotta go find a restroom to go.
I love this because again, it's a mindset that you're going to race and you've got these, conditions that you got to work against, but you never, I love that you just never let down that you're going to race and not until the point that they say, okay, now we're not going to race. So that's great
Yeah.
mindset to have.
Yeah. And
So
even
what-
after, oh yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, finish.
Yeah, and even after it was canceled, right? So we all kind of like we spent like 2 hours just getting out of that parking lot. It was crazy packed, right? And then get back to the hotel. Everybody's like, all right, let's just wait. In the morning, there's gonna be spot open for Arizona, right? So man, that went by fast, and I didn't get in, right? But then Cozumel was still open, right? And I was thinking like then Ironman kind of said like, if well, you don't defer to Cozumel or any other place, you could use it for next year. Great. And I spoke to my wife like, hey, can I go to Mexico and Cozumel? Like, she's like, when? A month and a half later. She's like, you're crazy. But if you want to go, go. Okay. So I was like, I already trained for it. I want to be Ironman 2021. So make sure it's cool with my coach. And he's like, yeah, go do it. You're a badass. Go. So I signed up and did the Ironman in Cozumel.
You flew down there to do this?
Yeah, I flew down there with a couple of teammates. Yeah.
That's awesome, and what an awesome race and a great venue to do down there. So how did you have to adjust your training all because now Cozumel is an ocean swim versus a river swim, and it's going to be hot
flat
and humid
versus hills.
So what did you do even prepping for that, or did you just say, my mindset is I'm going to go do it, and I'm going to go do it?
Yeah, my mindset was like I was set to do it, and I was thinking like, man, if it rains, I hope Mexico Ironman is more linear. It's just like let it go, right? Or not like California, right? Everyone kind of, I look at the course and everyone kind of said, I joined that Ironman Cozumel Facebook group, and everyone's like, oh, the bike is easy, the swim is so beautiful, everything is great, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. So show up to the race on that day, it was raining like crazy, right? And I was like, oh man, better not, like, please don't cancel, it costs so much to fly here. And my bike was I show up in Mexico and my bike was in the States still. So I had to wait at the airport for my bike to show up. It was like crazy logistic nightmare. But I was like, you know what? If my bike doesn't show up, I'll go to equivalent Walmart in Mexico and I'll ride something, like a Pixie or something, right?
There you go,
But
solving problems again.
Right. I know it's crazy. Like us, like triathlete, we're like always solving problem, which is awesome, right? So show up to that race. It was raining, but they still let it go. Swim was super beautiful. It's like any members in our club is thinking about it or doesn't know about that venue, I fully recommend the swim there. It's totally beautiful, right?
Is that a wetsuit swim or not?
No wetsuit swim. But at first I thought the swim was going to be slow, right? But it's like there's a current behind it that kind of like help push you to where you need to be. But you could get distracted on that swim because there's like coral reefs and everything. So just
fish coming
beautiful.
by.
Yeah, fish. You see fish swimming by. It's great.
And what'd you think of the bike? What that course is very flat compared to what your first taste was.
Oh yeah, everyone said bike is beautiful. It is flat. it's beautiful. It's super flat, right? But it was raining so hard that a lot of the part where the bike course is flooded. So essentially, yeah, so essentially like half of my 808, my wheels, is all covered in water, right? At
Wow.
some point. But then I was thinking like, man, you know what? It's okay because it's my first one. It has to be hard, right? And like if it's easy, if it's easy, then it's like it's not an Ironman. Like everybody would do it. It's like you go to a Smith and buy a grocery. Like I don't want it to be easy. I want the journey to be difficult. So when I finish, it means something, right?
You want to be an Iron Man, not an aluminum man, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because like it was raining and flood, and everybody was like all complaining, and I'm like, dude, this is like the last race of that year,
And you're
2021.
reveling in it.
We're finishing this. So yeah.
Hey, was the run humid on that?
Oh yes, run was humid, but it was like that same thing, right? By the time I got to the run, I look at my watch and I'm like, oh, I could walk or crawl and I could finish the marathon, right? So my strategy is essentially like every time I go to like an aid station, I'll drink water and whatever they gave me, and I kind of like just get some wet towel that they had like kind of with ice and kind of just pack it in.
Managing the heat.
Yeah, the humidity was gnarly. It was not fun.
Yeah, but you solved the problems. That's awesome.
All right. Well, now I want to hear the finish line. How was the finish line, and how did it compare to your first race, which was the race before your 70.3?
Oh, it was great. Like the 70.3, I finished it like during the daytime, right? So the Ironman, it was hard. It took me like 16 hours or 15 hours, 15 plus hours to finish. And it was like night already, right? But the crowd is still like, they're still part Cozumel, right? There's like people trying to like, give me a shot at tequila on the run course, right? So I'm like, well, I could take the shot. There's some salt in it, so technically it probably would help. But yeah, the finish line was great. The crowd was very cheering. Atmosphere was great. Luckily, my Airbnb is right by the finish line because my leg was just gone. I was thinking in my head like, you guys could keep the bike. I'll come pick it up tomorrow.
Oh, that is awesome.
I want to jump to a question if it's okay, because we're about to run out of time.
Yeah, right.
Another hour, but the first races you've done were a half Ironman and an Ironman, but I know you've done sprints and Olympics as well. So what do you think about those? What do you think about sprints and Olympics compared to, the Ironman and half Ironman? Do you like them?
I think the probably beginners that starts out would think like, yeah, that's where people would start. I mean, it's true, right? It's shorter distance and it's something that they could do and feel comfortable. So and they could start moving up to like a longer distance, right? But it's a completely different race too, right? As like I learned, like if you want to win, like your goal is just to win, right? Or do well, right? I mean, you have to adjust, your numbers too, right? So like for me, if I'm running like a full marathon or half Ironman, the 13 miler, my pace would be like maybe 11, right? 10 or 11. But then if I'm doing sprint or Olympic, it's short distance. I have to go super, super fast, right? So the nutrition, not so much have to worry about. But like my zone has to be way up there, and my my run, like I have to run like 7-minute mile or something like that, right? So it's not an easier race because people think it's like, oh, it's a short distance. But yeah, you're doing it in the sprint, that hour, it's like the pure pain for that hour, right?
That's right. Thank you for bringing that up, because I mean, you're not one to say it's just a sprint. You realize that you're working your tail end off.
Yeah, anything that's a race, everybody should go into that mindset of like, you have to have your number ahead of time. You want to go there to win. But if you don't win, it's okay. Shake everybody's hand, give everybody a high five, and go eat donuts afterward.
Oh, I love it. So, Navin, what's on your calendar for the rest of this year?
This Saturday, I'm actually doing a race sprint. I'm doing relay. I'm trying to get my son into the sport. So he's, don't tell him, you might be watching, but he's a lot faster than me at like everything, right?
Oh,
And then he's like this 12-year-old that had like that body that looked like, like Sam Long, like super
Yeah.
tall, like 6-pack already. So then he beat me at everything. But the thing is, like, he's a teenager, right? So he's like glued to like playing game all the time. So I'm trying to get him to the sport. So I signed us up for a relay. I'll do the swim and bike, and then he'll do the run, right?
oh,
So,
nice.
Cool.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So that.
But
so,
you're doing
first,
St. George the next following weekend, aren't you?
No, I deferred it to
Okay.
Indian Wells. So I have the relay with him, couple like run with him here and there throughout the year, right? But for triathlon wise, I have Oregon half coming up.
Okay.
Then that's in July, and then in September I have Santa Cruz, and then October I have the Sacramento again because I want to beat my time with the win on the bike course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then December I'm doing Indian Wells.
Oh, that's what a season. I am so glad we had you on this because I did not know your journey, and this is so neat to hear. And I love this, phrase, another phrase you gave me was, I want the journey to be difficult. And I love that, just that mindset that you're knocking challenges down and celebrating the successes. And this is so fantastic to talk with you and to hear about this. And I'll hopefully see you this weekend at Rage. That'll be a lot of fun. Thanks for doing this.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, it was
Thank you
wonderful
for having
talking with you. And again, I can't believe we haven't had you on yet.
Yeah.
Right on.
We can't say it anymore, but thanks so much for being on tonight.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, John.
All right, Navin. Have a good evening. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.